Tom Carver, 54, leaned back in his recliner, the familiar creak of the old leather chair blending with the hum of the evening news. The living room smelled faintly of cedar from the fireplace, a scent that always grounded him after a long day managing the local hardware store. His routine was predictable. Home by 6:30, dinner with his wife Ellen, maybe a walk around their quiet suburban neighborhood. 32 years of marriage had carved deep grooves of comfort, trust, and unspoken understanding. Or so he thought. Ellen, 52, was a high school English teacher, her days filled with lesson plans and parent meetings. She had always been the vibrant one, quick with a laugh, her hazel eyes sparkling when she told stories about her students. Lately, though, she'd been distant. Tom chalked it up to the grind of the school year, but tonight, as he sipped his coffee, a nagging unease settled in his gut. The phone rang, breaking his thoughts. Ellen was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for a late dinner. "Can you get that, hon?" she called, her voice clipped, not her usual warmth. Tom grunted, hauling himself up. The caller ID showed Mike, his oldest friend, and the town's auto mechanic. "Tom, man, I hate to do this over the phone." Mike's voice was low, hesitant, "but I saw something today, and I'd feel like a lousy friend if I didn't tell you." Mike exhaled. "I was at the diner on Route 12 this afternoon, grabbing lunch. Saw Ellen there with some guy. They weren't just chatting, Tom, they were close. Holding hands across the table, laughing like nobody else existed. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but it didn't look right." The room seemed to tilt. Tom's heart thudded, a dull roar in his ears. "You sure it was her?" he asked, voice hoarse. Tom muttered a thanks and hung up, his mind racing. Ellen? Cheating? It didn't compute. They'd built a life together, 2 kids, a mortgage paid off, vacations to the Smoky Mountains. He stared at the TV, the news anchor's voice, a distant buzz. Betrayal clawed at him, sharp and unfamiliar, followed by a spark of anger. He needed answers. Tom didn't confront Ellen that night. He couldn't. The words stuck in his throat, and he didn't trust himself to stay calm. Instead, he watched her. She moved through the kitchen with her usual efficiency, but now he noticed things. The way she avoided his gaze, the quick glances at her phone, the faint flush on her cheeks when a text came through. The next morning, after Ellen left for school, Tom called in sick. His store manager, a loyal employee of 10 years, didn't question it. Tom sat at the kitchen table, Ellen's laptop open in front of him. They'd never been the type to snoop. Trust had always been their foundation, but Mike's call had shattered that. He hesitated, and typed her password, their anniversary date. It worked. Her email was a dead end, mostly work-related threads and newsletters. But her messaging app was another story. A chat with Paul caught his eye. Time-stamped from last night. Tom's stomach churned as he scrolled. The messages went back months. Flirty, intimate, some explicit. Tom's hand shook as he read about stolen moments in hotel rooms, lunches at out-of-town diners, even a weekend when Ellen claimed she was at a teaching conference. He found a photo Paul sent. A man in his late 40s, fit, with a smug grin, standing by a sleek convertible. Tom didn't recognize him, but the sight fueled his rage. He cross-checked Ellen's calendar. Sure enough, her conference dates aligned with gaps in their routine. Nights she'd come home late, claiming exhaustion. The evidence piled up, each piece a fresh cut. Disbelief warred with fury. How could she do this? After everything? Tom grabbed his keys and drove to the diner on Route 12, the one Mike mentioned. The waitress, a woman he'd known since high school, confirmed it. "Yeah, Ellen's been in a few times with a guy. Always sit in the back booth, real cozy. Thought you knew, Tom." He nodded, jaw tight, and left. The drive home was a blur, his mind replaying every moment he'd missed, every lie he'd swallowed. By the time he pulled into the driveway, anger had hardened into resolve. He wasn't just hurt, he was ready to act. That evening, Tom waited. Ellen breezed through the door at 7:15, her purse slung over her shoulder, a practiced smile on her face. "Hey, hon. Sorry I'm late." Staff meeting ran long. He didn't answer, just pointed to the couch. She sat, her eyes darting nervously. Tom pulled out his phone, the screenshot of her chat with Paul glowing on the screen. He slid it across the coffee table. "Care to explain this?" Ellen's face drained of color. She stared at the screen, then at him, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. "Tom, Don't lie," he snapped, his voice low but laced with fury. "I know about Paul. The diner, the hotels, everything. How long, Ellen? How long have you been sneaking around?" "Stop it!" his shout echoed in the quiet house. "I trusted you. 32 years, and you throw it away for what? Some guy with a fancy car?" Ellen's tears spilled over, but her voice hardened. "You don't get it, Tom. You're always at the store, always so predictable. Paul makes me feel alive. I didn't mean for it to happen, but I don't regret it." The words hit like a sledgehammer. Tom's vision blurred, rage and pain colliding. "You don't regret it? You've been lying to my face, to our kids, and you don't regret it?" "I'm sorry you're hurt," she said, her tone defiant. "But I needed something more. I still love you, Tom, but—" "Love?" he laughed bitterly. "You don't know the meaning of it. Get out." "You heard me. Pack a bag and go. I don't care where. Just get out of my house." She hesitated, then stormed upstairs. Tom sank into his chair, his chest heaving. The sound of drawers slamming and zippers closing filled the house. 20 minutes later, Ellen descended with a suitcase, her face streaked with tears. "This isn't over, Tom." "It is for me," he said, not looking at her. The door slammed, and silence swallowed the room. The next week was a haze of practicalities and pain. Tom changed the locks and opened a separate bank account, transferring half their joint savings. He hired a divorce lawyer, Susan Reed, a no-nonsense woman recommended by a regular at the store. Susan laid out his options. Colorado's no-fault divorce laws meant Ellen's infidelity wouldn't sway asset division much, but Tom could still protect his interests. He gave her the screenshots and diner receipts, determined to build a case. Emotionally, Tom was a wreck. Nights were the worst, lying in their bed, now too big, haunted by memories of Ellen's laugh, her touch, her betrayal. Anger kept him moving. He wasn't a vengeful man, but he needed closure. Susan suggested a private investigator to dig into Paul's identity, suspecting he might be married too. Tom agreed, hoping exposure would sting Ellen where it hurt. The investigator's report came back in days. Paul Grayson, 48, was a real estate developer, married with 2 kids, living in a gated community an hour away. The investigator caught photos of Paul and Ellen at a motel, time-stamped during Ellen's staff meetings. Tom didn't look at them. Didn't need to. Instead, he focused on the next step. Susan arranged a meeting with Paul's wife, Laura, under the guise of a property consultation. Tom sat in Susan's office as Laura, a poised woman in her 40s, flipped through the photos. Her face crumpled, then hardened. "I had no idea," she whispered. "He's been lying to me too." Laura didn't want a public scandal, but she promised to handle Paul. Tom didn't ask for details. He trusted her quiet fury. As for Ellen, Tom took a subtler route. He mailed copies of the chat logs to her principal, anonymously, citing concerns about her professionalism. Within days, Ellen was on administrative leave, her reputation at school tarnished. It wasn't revenge, Tom told himself. It was justice. The betrayal rippled outward, touching everyone Tom loved. His kids, Matt and Sarah, were grown. Matt, 30, a carpenter in Denver. Sarah, 28, a nurse in Boulder. Tom called them the day after Ellen left, his voice breaking as he explained. Matt cursed, his anger mirroring Tom's. "She did what? Dad, I'm coming down this weekend. You shouldn't be alone." Sarah was quieter, her voice thick with tears. "I can't believe Mom would do this. How could she?" When they arrived, the house felt alive again, if only briefly. Matt helped Tom repaint the living room, a task Ellen had nagged about for years. Sarah cooked chili, her mother's recipe, though nobody mentioned it. They didn't talk much about Ellen, but their presence was a balm. Still, Tom saw the hurt in their eyes, Matt's clenched jaw, Sarah's forced smiles. Ellen's actions had fractured their family, and Tom hated her for that. His friends rallied too. Mike stopped by with beers, though Tom stuck to coffee. "You're better off without her," Mike said, clapping Tom's shoulder. Others weren't as kind. A few neighbors whispered, "Their pitying looks worse than gossip." Tom ignored them, focusing on his kids in his store. Mike suffix. Ellen's family was another story. Her sister Diane called Tom, apologetic but distant. "I'm sorry, Tom. Ellen's staying with me for now. I don't know what got into her." Tom thanked her but kept the call short. He didn't need their excuses. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. Tom kept the house, Ellen got her share of the savings, and they split the retirement accounts. She moved to an apartment across town, still on leave from teaching. Matt and Sarah visited her occasionally, but their loyalty lay with Tom. He didn't gloat, he just wanted to move on. The hardware store became his sanctuary. Customers, unaware of his personal storm, relied on his steady advice about nails or paint. One regular, Linda Hayes, a 50-year-old widow who ran a local bakery, lingered longer than usual one day. Her brown eyes crinkled as she teased him about his ancient coffee maker. "Tom, you're going to burn the place down with that relic." He chuckled, the sound foreign after months of silence. "It's reliable, like me." Their chats grew frequent. Small talk about her scones, his tools, the town's quirks. One evening, as Tom locked up, Linda appeared with a paper bag. "Made you some blueberry muffins. Figured you could use a treat." He took the bag, warmth spreading through him. "Thanks, Linda. Want to grab coffee sometime?" "Not from my ancient machine, I promise." Their first coffee date was simple. 2 hours at a cafe, talking about their kids, their losses, their lives. Linda had lost her husband to cancer 5 years earlier, and her quiet strength resonated with Tom. She didn't push, didn't pry, but her presence felt like sunlight after a long winter. Tom wasn't naive. Trust would take time. Ellen's betrayal had left scars. But as he sat across from Linda, her hand brushing his as she passed the sugar, he felt something new. Hope. Maybe he could rebuild, not the life he'd lost, but something better. One night, as he grilled steaks for Matt and Sarah, his son raised a beer. "To Dad, for getting through the crap and coming out stronger." Tom smiled, the weight of the past year lighter. "To new beginnings," he said, clinking his coffee mug against their glasses. The road ahead wasn't clear, but for the first time in a long time, he was ready to walk it.